Well,
Good
cool.
morning, everybody. We wanted to talk about something today. I know some of you guys are really good at it. Some of you guys kind of forget, and I get it. Have you all seen the new merchant tune-up sheet?
Yes.
Yep.
Everybody's seen that, right? You know, we get a lot of statements.
School
I'm
just
sorry.
called.
School just called. I'm late. No.
Excuse me.
No, don't worry about it. The merchant tune-up sheet, when we came up with this idea is, you know, I think a couple different things. Number one, I think with the industry today, it's ever so important, and probably more important than it ever has been, to really bring a lot of value to the table. You know, there's a lot of companies that do this. There's a lot of companies out there that, you know, they sell by rate, you know, they sell by price. So, you know, they're going to just give everything away, and it's going to make it really difficult to maintain any margin in it if you're not bringing a lot of value. And the merchant tune-up sheet was designed to help us bring value, to find maybe other things that the merchant would be interested in that we need to uncover through discovery. I think a lot of, especially new folks, when they get into this industry, it's almost like we get tunnel vision. You know, we get tunnel vision going, you know, I want to do this for the merchant before I even really get in and do any discovery with the merchant. You know, so I want to reiterate to everyone, and I'm just going to fly through it real quick. We're not going to spend a whole lot. There is information online if you want to look at it in closer detail. But please make sure you do the merchant tune-up sheet, especially if you're at a point where you still need help reading the merchant statements. Because when we get the merchant statements in, a lot of the questions, like one of the very first questions we ask is, how does this person know the merchant? Oh, I don't know. Well, what do they use to process their transactions? What kind of equipment are they using? These are things that we ask that are on the merchant tune-up sheet. So if you would, please use that. It'll make it, and plus what it's going to do for you, you know, sitting in front of a merchant, going through a merchant tune-up sheet, you're asking questions about their business, which shows them that you're not just trying to sell them by price. You're trying to make sure that they have the best program, and you're going to unlock or uncover some things that are going to allow you to get, you know, some additional things in there, like maybe a Clover. You know, so make sure we do that. You know, we have the discovery part. We definitely want to know, how do you know the merchant? Dynamics are hugely important. Would you guys agree that dynamics are important?
Definitely.
If I go, hey, how do you know this guy? And he goes, well, I saved his life in NAM. Or he goes, well, you know, I ran into him having coffee this morning at McDonald's. Which one do you think's a tighter connection? Probably the guy you were sharing a foxhole with, right? We want to know that too. You know, and that helps us position it for you when you go out and you talk to the merchant. Maybe we use a little bit different language and maybe just a tad bit different approach. Ask them how they got into their business. People love talking about their deal anyway. You know, if they've built their business from ground up, they love talking about it. They're proud of it. So, you know, find that out. Find out who they're currently processing with, which will obviously be on the statement too, but it's a great question to ask initially to kind of lead into it. You know, if there's an area that could improve in their credit card processing, what would it be? You know, maybe they want to start being mobile. Maybe they want to start selling over the internet. You know, maybe they want to do some things like that, so we can find out. Want to find out what kind of cards they accept. You know, obviously Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, Fleet, WEX, PIN-based debit, EBT, Apple Pay, those kind of things. In another part of the app where we see a lot of things missing are basically their sales flow. And this is really important from an underwriting perspective, because we want to make sure, and let me ask you guys, when you set up one of your merchants, you want to make sure you set them up properly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want them to have any heartaches or headaches down the road, you know, because imagine from a merchant's perspective, let's say that you didn't ask them if they accepted EBT. And you go in and you blast out their terminal, or you get them a new terminal and you never add EBT because they just assume that you knew. And then the next EBT customer comes in and their card doesn't work. What do you think that merchant's going to think about you? Man, they sold me a bill of goods. This stuff doesn't work. They told me to work just like my other deal, and it doesn't. I can't even accept EBT. Or, you know, from a security perspective, oh, I ran this one transaction I do every year for $10,000 on this huge catering job, and it went off like the 4th of July in security. Now they're holding my money until they get a hold of me. So make sure we find out those things. What percentage swiped, keyed, internet? Do they do reoccurring billing? Are they multi-merchant? And I know I'm reading this and it was unfair because you guys probably don't have it in front of you, but make sure you print it out and you take a peek at it. And every time you send statements in, send this with it. Want to know what they're using currently, whether it's a terminal piece, POS system, gateway, mobile. Processing, we want to know monthly volume. We want to know average ticket and average high ticket. We want to know what their high ticket is. You know, we do have a lot of merchants that have kind of weird things going on. Not weird, but, you know, like the example I use. You know, one time a year I cater the Chamber of Commerce dinner, and that's like a $10,000 transaction. You know, well, if you're a restaurant with an average ticket of $100, what do you think is going to happen if you run a $10,000 ticket? It's going to go off in security. Does that make sense? You know,
Yes,
so
it
make
does.
sure so make sure we know that. Want to know if they're seasonal. You know, right now, fireworks stands, that's a great example. You know, everybody's gearing up for the 4th of July, right? Coming up in less than a month. So fireworks stands with a huge volume, and then after the 4th of July, it just kind of drops off and stays kind of status quo until next year. So we want to find out if they're seasonal. Want to know if they have dial-up or high speed. Want to know if they accept tips. You know, don't mistake. You know, just because they're a retail merchant doesn't mean they may not accept, just because they're not a restaurant doesn't mean they may not accept tips. Think of like a hair salon or like a massage therapist. You know, those places have tip options, and if they don't have a tip option, what a great value to bring to the table for them, because it helps their people make more money if they have a tip option. Want to know data security? Are they EMV chip and PIN compatible? Are they PCI compliant? Do they need a network scan? So you want to find these things out. And then talk to them about their gift card loyalty. Have you ever thought about having that? Do we see where that would be a benefit for you? Check services, give back program. Could they benefit from some additional things like inventory management, order tracking, employee time clock, any custom type applications? So you know, print that off. If you have any questions about the merchant tune-up sheet, please get with your agent director and go through it. You know, they'll be doing that with you too. We just want to make sure you guys use it so we're getting the merchant the absolute best we can. And what you'll find if you get consistent with using the merchant tune-up sheet, asking those things that are on there, you're going to bring a lot more value than the guy who's coming in and going, hey, I'm going to get you 1.59. So bring the value. Would you guys agree that by bringing value, you can ask for more money?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, of course you can. So please make sure that you do that. And we just have, you know, it's funny because it's ebb and flow. You know, you see where for a while everybody's, man, they're sending in the merchant tune-up sheet with their deals. Things are great. And then you see like times where it's like, man, we're getting a lot of statements without the merchant tune-up sheet. And it quite frankly, it takes a lot of your time. And for some of you guys on the call that have been doing this a while and written a fair amount of business, you know that, like, let me ask you seasoned guys, you don't want deals hanging out any longer than they need to, do you?
Nope.
Because
Nope.
what happens with them? They fall apart.
Slip away sometimes.
Yeah, they go away sometimes. And that makes it really, really difficult. So let's increase your odds to close as many deals as possible, get the merchant the right stuff, build as much value as you can, earn what you're worth. You know, you'll find that guys that stick to the merchant tune-up sheet, their average income per deal is, you know, 20% higher than a guy that's just going out flying by the seat of his pants. So please make sure you do that. That's really the only thing I wanted to touch base on today, and John and Chad might have a couple other things, but then we're going to open it up for whatever you guys are running into. We've talked a lot about joint ventures last week. You know, hopefully we've been knocking on some doors, establishing some relationships, and working towards that. So I don't know, John, Chad.
Yeah, this is John Alonso. That tune-up sheet, you guys, too, you know, when you use that, it's like the old-fashioned way when you go in and sell something is they teach you build a little rapport, which is I don't know about you, but when I've got people that want to sell me stuff, the rapport and relationship of building ability is, or however they go about it, is really usually pretty light. And it's like, hey, how about this Vikings? Yeah. Anyway, so, or hey, you have a good weekend? Yeah, I did. Oh, good. Hey, you know what? And then they launch into what they love best about their product, and it's like, what just happened there? Now all of a sudden they're launched onto whatever it is they're talking about. When most people, you can sell a lot more if you go in and you start, if you find out a little bit about what they're doing and why they might even want what you're talking about. And, like Chuck was saying, it's more, I don't know if he said it this way or used the word, but it's more of a consultative sort of approach. Consultants, or he said it like, they find that you're actually interested in what they're doing. And most people in sales show no interest in really what the company's doing. What they want to do is quickly get into the presentation, and and it's just not effective. There's so much better way to go about it, and there's kind of a skill to it. And we thought, all right, how do we set this sheet up? What can we give to you guys that's a couple things. One is kind of like a information gathering sheet that helps us when you send the statements in, put the deal and hopefully a couple different choices together for you to present to the merchant. And how do you go through this process in a flow that's like conversational rather than just going through a checklist? So you'll find. So we came up with this sheet, this merchant tune-up, which is, if you use it, if you just follow along and use it as a conversation piece, as kind of like a guide rather than a rule, like you're going through and checking off all these things like it's diagnostic. It is kind of diagnostic. I wouldn't call it a tune-up, but it's a great way to flow through the conversation. And if you practice using it a little bit and you go, okay, I can imagine how this might be conversational and how and then we put questions on there that light people up, like, how did you get into this business? Like Chuck said, the best question you ever want to ask somebody is that, and it's on there. It prompts you to do it. And anyway, it'll make your life and business better, and it'll help us help you get more business quicker. It's just if you use it, your life will be better. You'll make more money. I swear to you, it'll be true.
Yeah,
there's my 2 cents.
That's a good 2 cents too, because it will. I mean, rapport is one of those weird things. It's sometimes it's real easy to build rapport with folks. Sometimes it's real difficult. With this merchant tune-up sheet, what I found about halfway through it, people really start opening up because you kind of gear them towards answering questions and giving you information. And, you want to pop in an open-ended question here and there to get them to elaborate a little bit. The more they elaborate, the more you know about them, the more they feel comfortable with you. It's weird. People feel so comfortable if they're able to talk with you, and they do most of the talking. If they're just listening to you, you don't give them a chance to kind of break out and get comfortable with you. So it's harder to.
Well, they're not even tuned in, but you don't even realize it.
Right.
They're thinking about it. Yeah. But if you engage, then you know if they're tuned in or not. People assume, in human. I was at a graduation party yesterday, and there's this guy that I was talking to, and he was talking to me. He was talking at me. He didn't realize that I really had no interest in this conversation, but he blabbed, and I didn't even say anything. And I think he took my not saying anything as I was actually listening. Internally, I'm thinking 2 things. Oh, God, please help him stop. And how, what am I really? I'm thinking about something I'm actually interested in. And so many, when you present, that's what happens, and we don't even realize it. When we converse, now we're getting somewhere, and the sheet will help you converse.
Yeah, absolutely. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, it does.
All right, awesome. All right, Chad, anything you wanted to add before we open it up?
I think just a couple of points to everything that's been said, and because when statements come in, pretty much no matter who you're working with, there's a good chance they're coming across my desk. And without this information, it makes it tough for me to get numbers back out to you guys quickly. But the other side of it too, when we're not doing this, and I've seen this a handful of times over the last couple of weeks, is by not doing the discovery, we've gotten ourselves in a hole where all of a sudden we're pitched into a terminal and having to sell a terminal versus we've had a couple just perfect scenarios for Clovers and Clover Minis that, because we didn't ask a lot of questions up front and find out about their business and what they're trying to do, all of a sudden, we're leaving a lot of revenue or a lot of pay for an agent out there that we can't get because now the merchant's sold on, well, I just need this terminal with an EMV slot.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't like leaving anything on the table. At least have a shot at that option of pulling that, $40, $50 a month lease in when it makes perfect sense for the business. And so I just kind of want to stress, we don't necessarily have to pitch something right away, but if we ask lots of questions, we can come back with our presentation, and then we can give them two options. Well, this one will do this, and this one will do this plus all these other things.
Wouldn't it be better to go back with two? If we have more information, then we can get you guys two choices. Then you can go back to the merchant and go, hey, Mr. Merchant, what works better for you, this one or that one? And now they're looking at your two choices and deciding between those two rather than the two choices before we're sticking where they are or going with us. Man, I would rather have an A/B. And if you don't like Chad was saying, he said something I thought was interesting. He says a lot of things I think are really interesting, but he said you leave money on the table or you leave revenue on the table. And when think about that for a minute because. And it's not that you're just trying to snap up all the money in the world, and this is a two-way street. When you get the best thing for the merchant, you are probably going to make the greatest amount of money too. So it's not that you're just trying to sell them everything under the sun crap that they don't need. It's like imagine if you're buying insurance, and if your insurance guy didn't give the option of something that you would have found really valuable, because he didn't want to ask you for more money or talk to you about too many things. No, that insurance guy is there you're talking to him wanting the right things for your life. And we are there for making sure that we do our best to get them the best things for their business. Now, if that means that they buy a whole bunch more stuff, well, and if it's better for them, that's what you're there for. So life's a Clover. Man, so many more things and it will do for your business and so much simpler, and it works like an iPhone, but it's like a credit card. It's like, you have to cost a little bit more, but for the little bit more that you are investing every month in your business, instead of having to use all these clunky things, you've got a Band-Aid together and you want to pull your hair out and help them have a better business and a better life. There are things that you can get to them. Anyway, enough said. For me, anyway. For now.
No, for now. But no, that's right. Get them what they need, definitely. And then what we'll do is let's open it up. What do you guys? What are some things you have going on? Or we all run into hurdles and things that we go, gosh, if I just knew how to get around this, or what do you? Because, and I'm not saying that from our perspective we'll have the answer, but there's other guys on the phone that are running into the exact same thing that you're running into that probably will have the answer. No? Wow, you guys are making it too easy today. I don't know.
We're going to have a busy week with paperwork, it sounds like.
It sounds like it. Excellent. Well, you know what? Again, I want to thank you all for coming. We'll see you next week, and let's get out and let's, again, work those joint ventures. We talked a lot about that last week and the opportunities that are available in that arena. So until then, we'll see you. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Monday. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you. Yeah, somebody has a question?
Yeah, Chuck, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
You guys have any kind of a handout or direction for information to hand out to prospective bankers?
We do. Yep. We do.
Mine work with, and he's introduced me to other bankers, and he wants to help me work on a good pitch to get into his buddies.
Okay. Well, then that's probably something that maybe you and I and Derek should talk about. so we can
Okay.
strategize in what the right approach is. Because, you know, obviously I don't know any of the dynamics yet. I know nothing about it yet.
All right.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we set it up where you and I and Derek can get together and we'll talk about that.
All right. I'll harass
All
my
right.
boy today and have. Okay.
All right, that sounds great, man. I appreciate it, brother, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great day.